even bothered on stereotype, telling lies and all manner of descriptive terms against him. And I felt bitter, especially about Bawumia, because let's leave politics aside. To call somebody incompetent is different from inefficient. If you say somebody is incompetent, then he doesn't know anything at all. You see, by not being efficient, maybe you felt your approach in doing something was the best, and the result will show that it wasn't the best. But to say somebody was incompetent, and he kept on with that rhetoric. You understand? And so the whole approach and the mindset of the party contributed to the defeat. And so if indeed this Professor Michael Quay's committee had done a thorough job, and this thank you tour is part of the recommendation, then all be well with them. But at least, as you said, we have been around for quite a long time, and you can see the quality or caliber of leadership of the MPP compared to the immediate past. If it is a party that had Dr. Kwame Donkofujuo, who was a special assistant to General Tiampon at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning, and became the first president of the African Development Bank. And later, when we started politics again, he became chairman of the MPP in Ashanti region. And then you compare his style, you see, his stature to the current chairman in a stronghold, and the penchant for talking recklessly, and officialdom look on as if the presidency is a traditional ruling house. So when elders within the family decide, then that's it. Forgetting that it's a seat for everybody, and that the power to decide who should go there for a period was in the hands of the people. Maybe they didn't realize that. I recall when NDC lost the election in 2000, I had a personal chat with Dr. Beza Samoa. He's alive. You may interview him. And he held a strong view. Some privately discussed with him, or even he came out that, look, the perception was that we've had too much of the presence, physical or mental presence of President Rawlings. May he so rest in peace. So the party need to regenerate its focus, move on, and reinvent itself. And that's why he took the personal position. And you recall they went around the country, and Obe took a personal interest and became chairman. And that projected late President Mills as a new leader, and that led to the victory in 2008. Unfortunately, Mills passed away, and this time around, the party also regenerated itself and projected President Mahama, whether constitutionally, if you are not a president or you are not elected the leader, you are not the leader. But as of now, President Mahama, you can say, is the spiritual and physical leader of the NDC. Because until he was elected, he was the only surviving president. We have the Council of Elders, but if you're talking about the leadership, he was number one. And so he now symbolizes the new direction. And you can see that from the appointment, that is the era of the new generation or the younger generation. That is how the party regenerates itself. And even then, you recall when the party lost in 2016, Dr. Kwesi Botwe, may he also rest in peace, led a delegation or a committee that did a comprehensive work, went around the country, established what went wrong, and they presented their reports in a big forum, and the recommendations became the blueprint for moving the party. And by and large, the recommendations projected the way the party prosecuted this election campaign, and it yielded fruits. So the only advice we can give the MPP is the internal matter, but at least you are also there as an established political party. And so we wouldn't like a one-party state. So one day, if they do their work well, then they have the chance as one of the two major parties to come back to power. Other than that, the political landscape is still emerging. It's still evolving. So a new political party may emerge, and then this duopoly may be called to question. And if that happens, it will be one of them that will have his ranks decimated for a third force to emerge. So that's all that I can say. But if Dr. Bawumia says that arrogance of power, all the things that he was saying should be obvious to them. Should be obvious to them. Reckless financial sector reform, where you take over 25 billion of state money to correct a 9 billion indebted establishment. If it's your father's money, will you use it that way? And we are told in the last budget that there's still a legacy debt of about 10 billion. What policy was this? And we kept on telling us about Ukraine, Russia war, when our total trade with Russia or Ukraine, the Russian ambassador kept on saying did not exceed 93 or 90 million dollars. And yet everything that went wrong, it was Russian Ukraine war. Everything that went wrong, Russian Ukraine war. Look at the things we are hearing from oral, where somebody is alleged to have a paid employee of state is alleged to have gone to buy apartments. And then look at also the other allegation of the ghost names on the the national service payroll. If you steal money that way, how will the country develop? And you see, there have been increase in prices of goods and services over the last few months. It is easy to pass this on to the new administration, but we are now reeling the effect, because once you stabilize the landscape, financial landscape, you will really see the real effect. And that's what we are seeing. Prices of goods and services had gone up over the last few months, and it is because of the effect of the bad policies that we went through over the last few years. And so the NPP needs to look at itself and regenerate the party. And I believe the Akufo-Addo, control of the party machinery, if they continue that way, then I think they will laugh at the wrong side of their cheese come 2028. It is easy, and you can see the way they started. As if they've not even come to the realization that President Maha or the NDC victory, though due to mass support from the NDC, but largely by non-card-bearing members of the NDC. And they hold the power. I have been telling you that the demands that are placed on governance in developing countries are not as strong as we have in advanced democracies. But thank God, God is establishing the order. And no government, including the present government, should take the electorate for granted. No government.
I see.
And I think that is good for our democracy. Other than that, people with nothing will get into government and then behave as if the whole world belongs to them. And I keep asking the question, all elected governments, from the president to the least appointed fellow, what money did they take into government? The current appointees, did anybody take his salary and say, I've been appointed as a CEO of this company, a minister, so I'm bringing, but you are just going to work, provide the service, and you will be paid your salary. And they want your effort to contribute towards advancing the government of the day's political or manifesto agenda. That's all. But people went into government with impunity as if they brought their wealth and we are slaves, and so they will do us favor with that paternalistic, condescending attitude. That will not take anybody anywhere. And so we can only advise them, we can only wish them well. They have to look at it critically. If they now come to the terms that all the negative things that they are talking about, which we knew already, it is now that they are dawning on them, then it's good news for them. But we can only pray and wish them well in whatever efforts they have undertaken to move the fortunes of the party on a positive note.
But Prof, before you go, what do you think is the biggest challenge confronting the party? Because clearly, if you even see from the thank you tour, there's Kennedy and Japan. And I'm sure you heard the clash between Kennedy and Japan and Abronye. There is...
Yes, you see, all that I have said, if you crystallize everything that I have said, there are guiding principles in any mass organization. You see, first of all, is internal cohesion, unity. Because that's why you decide that you want to belong to a party called New Patriotic Party. And you have your philosophy. As for your political base, we know. But there must be that internal cohesion, and you must come to the realization that you are seeking power. And so anything that you do must be in sync with the aspirations of the people. you are begging us for power. Of course, if it is not for seeking power, what is the basis for having a political party? If it's the old students association, we even have an aim or we have objectives. But for political parties, you want to seek power. So they must look at the way the NDC had run. For me, that is the best example. You see, the party is now very solid. It's regenerated itself and laid a sound foundation for growth and development for the future. So the NDC MPP needs to copy that. If they care, half of philosophies, they are different, but nobody needs to reinvent anything. You look at the winner, and then I think Nancy and I, any team that wants to perform next year, they have to look at Liverpool. And I can add that you look at the winner and then copy what the winner does and add your little touch here and there. Mind you, if you don't copy us and you just want to get instant victory, it will take you another 13 years. So we advise you to copy us and then you reassert your dominance in English football.
So you're saying they should learn from the NDC?
Oh, yes. Nobody needs to tell them. Maybe they are learning and they will not just come out because of bravado. We know our traditional balance, patapa. Because of patapa, they will not admit. But I believe they must have looked at what NDC did to come to power. Their assertion that they played into the hands of the NDC to use a propaganda against them, I think that's less than 1%. It is solid organization resonating with you can say the attractive posture of President Mahama. Already you were saying something, demonstration, and I think when you interviewed the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Justice, this whichever, pardon me if I mix it up. Yeah. He told you that when you look at President Mahama, this, Shakespeare says that there's no art to read the mind's construction from the face. But when you look at the man and his deeds, he vibrates love, sympathy, is approachable, and you don't see any evil intent or any arrogant attitude in him.
But Prof,
and that's the leadership that we need.
Isn't that the challenge with the MPP now? Because even NDC after losing 2016, no matter how people felt about John Mahama's government and perhaps whatever he contributed to their laws, they still know he was still the towering figure around which everybody knows they had to unite. No matter other people's ambition, John Mahama will emerge strongly. In the case of the MP, and of course, there was Johnson Asiedu Nketia, General Secretary, who was assertive in many ways. In the case of the MPP, they have a General Secretary who, it seems, none of the big figures respect, a national chairman who never turns up. They have big egos in terms of Kennedy Ejepon. Brian Champon is also showing his head to see if it's possible. Then there's, of course, Dr. Bawumia, who is still casting the shadow of Akufo-Addo while still criticizing Akufo-Addo among others. Isn't that the challenge they have? That this will lead more of a fracture than unity?
It's a sum total effect. You see, it's not that they don't have personalities. Of course, they don't have the benefit of having President Mahama, who has been around for a long time, and then also the advantage of being the vice president and then a president. So that sort of image factor wasn't a problem or a challenge for the NDC. But it's not that the MPP does not have people. If they bury that ego and appreciate the real issues that contributed towards in the dispassionate, honest manner, leaders can start projecting leaders. You see, you don't tell me that you have personalities with due respect, and I don't mean any derogatory stance, like want to miss attitude. You can't carry that attitude and rebuild a party. You understand? That's why I said that if you have people like I don't know whether he's alive, pardon me, Dr. Kwame Donkofo-Duo, as a chairman of a party in the region, and then you compare what is happening now, when you have leaders like this, Abrunye, who can talk anyhow because of the advantage of having a radio platform, who even recently accusing Mahama of harboring or holding some money or whatever it was. You can't talk that way. You may only succeed in maybe influencing or convincing some few party supporters in your small niche. But the rest of the country cannot be taken for granted. They cannot be taken for granted. Look, Senna, sometime last year, I was at a gathering, and the governor came there on a different note. The leader of the session introduced him, nobody acknowledged him. I noted this and told colleagues. And you cannot tell me that forum did not have MPP people or anybody, but nobody acknowledged him. You understand? So that's just a small experience that I had or I went through. So you can't take people. Look, if you are somebody like us, we are just by the grace of God that if I'm not well, it's just on malaria or typhoid or occasional headache. But I have colleagues. You go and do image, CT scan, 1,000 CDs, etc. Pensioner. Where do you get the money? And yet our little savings had been locked up. You understand? Because of bad policy. Me and the likes of my age group. And even look at the former Chief Justice. It's not that she was in want or she's in want. But look at the statement when she joined the picketing. She said, I have friends, I have mates, I have relatives. I visit them. Some are really sick. They can't access their money to even buy medication. As a woman or as an adult, what did she feel? So she's a cousin to the president, or she has been a former at this thing. And when she did that, you heard the statement from Gabi Ochredako. You see, which meant that they didn't appreciate the pain that they took people through, and the effect some had lost their lives. You see, so but the point is that they have people. If they do a sober reflection and then they note what went wrong and they sincerely want to correct it, so that they have the opportunity of winning the sympathy of Ghanaians to consider them again, then all the best for them. But if they continue on this track, well, they will have the small votes and then think that people didn't come out to vote. People didn't come out to vote. How do you know? And if they came out, why would you say that they voted for you? Your 2016 and 2020 votes, were they equal to your registered card-bearing members? They were not. So the rest of them are not your card-bearing members. So how do you think that they can vote for you all the time? Do you own them? Even your own party people, some didn't even vote for you. Some didn't even go at all to vote. So if they don't do the assessment properly, it is their internal matter. But if you just want advice, I can say, look at what the NDC did well, and not just to say that you gave them a weapon that they capitalize on. Look at what they did well, and then continue to rebuild your party. But if you continue on this track thinking it is an easy thing, and you think NDC fought from opposition, and all the lamentations and the fight they put up to have a proper register, all the tracking on ballot issues with the Electoral Commission, etc., you think it can happen this time again? No. At least it doesn't mean they're going to take advantage of the system, but they are in a position of strength, and those things that happen cannot happen again.
Prof, we have to leave it. Thank you. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Prof.
It's a pleasure.
Professor Nii Noi Dowuona, like I said, academic, politician, football administrator, many things that he's done in his life. Join us, taking us...